Hello, everyone. You can all call me Op, 36F. I have found myself in quite a difficulty. I could desperately use any advice or support right now. My entire marriage and family has crumbled from the inside out. There's a lot of history I need to go over, so please bear with me. This is going to be a lengthy post. My entitled sister Laura, 33F, and my overbearing and demeaning mom, 64F, have always been a thorn in my side, but for the sake of the peace of the family, I've always done my best to put up with it. I was never physically abused, so I have that going for me at least, but Laura and Mom are almost what I'd call toxic twins who have inflicted a lot of emotional turmoil upon me. They are just two peas in a pod, and I've always been the odd person out. Since I was the eldest sibling, Laura was pampered and showered with attention while I was often left to fend for myself. I'm so different from these two, I sometimes question if I'm even from the same family. It didn't help that our father died in a boating accident when I was a little girl, and Mom did not handle it well at all. I do not begrudge her for the grief she felt, as the whole family was feeling it as well, but I do resent Mom for how she chose to handle things. Mom started drinking too much and popping pills, and it started bringing out the worst in her. My childhood and teenage years were an emotional roller coaster, and I carry a lot of traumas from these events to this day. It seemed like Laura had it easier than I did in every way. She always had the best birthday parties, the best birthday presents, the best of everything. It used to drive me crazy. However, it's not so black and white. I've had good times with Laura and Mom, but they are just too emotionally draining for me. They are always in some sort of drama. Their lives seem to be in a continuous state of disorder. So, while I have remained present in their lives, I often find myself requiring at least some emotional distance, so I don't get too sucked into their drama. Yet time and time again it seems like I keep getting roped in. It's almost like Laura and Mom are tornadoes of drama. Until today, and the events that have rocked the foundations of my world, I at least considered my husband Billy, 32, a source of comfort, my rock amidst the chaos of the world. For all his faults, of which there are indeed many, he has remained something of a relief throughout dealing with all of Laura and Mom's behavioral irregularities. I know Mom is quite a bit to be blamed for when it comes to how Laura turned out in life, but Laura's 33 years old now, so she's a grown woman who is responsible for her actions no matter how much sympathy I try to have for her. She takes heavily from Mom when it comes to her tendency towards poor decisions and staying in a world of self-imposed drama. She's only 3 years younger than me, yet she's somehow gone through 3 husbands and just divorced her 4th husband, someone who struck me as a truly nice person named Scoop, 36. I know it's in bad form to talk this way about your own sister's husband, but since they divorced, I don't mind admitting he seemed like quite a catch. He was handsome and charming, and seemed like far too nice of a person to be married to a selfish entitled clown like my sister Laura. He was always doing nice things for her, and Laura and Mom were always talking about him behind his back and badmouthing him. Laura had the nerve to cheat on Scoop, just as she has been unfaithful to all her previous husbands, and just about every man she's dated as well. That's the type of person Laurel is. She just looks out for number one, and the number one in her mind is her. She thinks the planet simply orbits around her every whim. It's ridiculous. Laura sadly inherited Mom's love of drugs and alcohol at a young age, and this has had a severe impact on her behavior towards others as well. Don't get me wrong, people are often sympathetic towards addicts and wish all drug addicts to get the help they need, but I fear someone like Laura simply does not have it in her to take accountability and responsibility for her actions. I fear she will never get the help she truly needs, because she does not have a desire nor a motivation to change her wicked ways. Due to Laura's love of drugs and alcohol, as well as her tendency to get the short end of the financial stick when it comes to divorce due to her obvious infidelities, she has spent most of her life living in her childhood bedroom at Mom's house. Sometimes she will spend some time rooming with me at my apartment and taking advantage of my friendliness and compassion when Laura and Mom have a booze-fueled fight, but I have unfortunately been forced to set boundaries with her and ban her from spending too much time at my apartment, in case it turns into a booze-soaked mess. Well, Laura has been quite inconsolable after her recent divorce from Scoop. Not that I excuse laughing at the pain of others, but I must admit, the situation is a bit funny to me. She cheated on Scoop, ruined her marriage completely on her own, and now she has spent the last couple of months moping to anyone and everyone about how Scoop broke her heart. It's the most ludicrous pile of poop I've ever heard. Well, as most of Laura's problems tend to involve, I somehow was sucked into the whirlpool of this storm. Mom recently called me on the phone. I braced myself for an unpleasant phone call as I always did when I received a call from Mom, but even I was not prepared for the insane statement she was about to put forth. Your sister Laura is feeling depressed over her divorce, said Mom. This was not news to me, of course. It was not news to anybody. So, why did she feel the need to remind me? Yet I pressed on with a phone call and asked Mom what her point was about all this. That's when Mom dropped a bombshell on me. Would you mind paying for Laura's luxury vacation? Laura and I feel it would be in her best interest to send her to Hawaii so she can relax and start feeling better, said Mom. I did not quite know how to react to such a ridiculous assertion. My first instinct was to burst out laughing at such a ridiculous request, but then I quickly realized Mom was dead serious. She asked me what was so funny. I had to stand up to Mom and tell her the truth. She is not someone who responds well to friendliness. I often must be quite blunt and rude with her to get my point across, because she is so thick and stubborn. I told Mom point blank I didn't want to spend the money I'd earned with my blood, sweat, and tears on a free vacation for Laura. I reminded her that Billy and I would not even be able to afford our own vacation to Hawaii, let alone a trip for Laura that we would not even be attending ourselves. I'm a server at Outback Steakhouse, for crying out loud. I can barely afford a vacation to Dalton, Georgia. Mom started blabbering her usual crap. She called me selfish and accused me of not having any empathy for my sister. My heart was pounding, and my blood was starting to boil, so I snapped at Mom and told her Laura's divorce was her own fault. Mom got so upset she hung up the phone. I did not call her back. I did not want to hear from this clown. The phone call with Mom was quite unpleasant, but most phone calls with Mom are unpleasant, so this particular call did not seem so out of the ordinary. A couple of days went by, and I nearly forgot about the absurd favor Mom had requested of me. That is, until I got home from an exhausting shift at Outback and Billy propositioned me with the same request. Billy had mostly been a good husband and loving partner toward me, but we had our share of bumps in the road just like any couple that's been around the block a while. One disrespectful trait of Billy that had always annoyed me was the comments he would make about Laura. Look, Laura and Elle are sisters, so we definitely share some similarities in the looks department. Billy has often jokingly mentioned how attractive he finds Laura and has made other suggestive jokes I shall refrain from repeating in this post. I told Billy several times these comments were inappropriate and made me uncomfortable, but time would pass, and he would make another joke again. I put the word joke in quotes because I knew deep down he was not truly making a joke. In reflection, I should have kicked Billy to the curb before he had a chance to betray me. I asked Billy who or what had put this idea in his head. Why on earth would Billy want us to fund Laura's luxurious vacation to Hawaii? I explained to him that Laura was the one who had sabotaged her own marriage with her foul and rotten behavior. Why should we carry the financial bill for her mistakes? I reminded Billy that I worked at Outback Steakhouse, and he worked at GameStop. I felt like I was living in some sort of twilight zone. Billy dropped the issue after I gave him enough pushback, although I knew my partner well enough to know he was for some reason disappointed and unsatisfied by my response. Oh well, I thought to myself. Billy would just have to suck it up and get over it. Well, that was what I thought until the next huge bombshell hit me. This is the true reason I'm writing this post for you all today. I am still having trouble processing what exactly has happened these past few days, but I will do my best to explain it. You see, Billy and I have shared a savings account for the duration of our entire marriage. I have always taken the savings account quite seriously, only touching the funds within the account in the event of a serious emergency. Billy, on the other hand, was always annoying me to dip into the savings fund and blow the money on playful expenses. He wanted to go to a Pokemon convention, and then he wanted to go to a Limp Bizkit concert. I essentially had to act like Billy's mother and put my foot down and tell him no as if he were merely a toddler. Well, imagine the betrayal I felt when I woke up yesterday and discovered the vast majority of funds in Billy and I's savings account had been depleted. At first, I was worried that we had been the victim of a cyber attack or some sort of identity theft, but then I saw the funds had been charged to a resort in Hawaii. My heart started pounding, and I could feel my face turning red. I immediately ran downstairs to confront Billy. When I asked Billy to explain why our savings account had been depleted, he did not lie to me. He did not even seem to feel shame for what he did. He seemed almost proud. He told me point blank he had been convinced by my mom to give the money so Laura could enjoy her dream vacation in Hawaii. I was so angry I felt like I was going to pass out. I had to step away and regain composure. All I wanted to do was scream. This was too much of a betrayal for me to handle. I realized I had to put my foot down or these people were going to ruin my life. For years I counted on Billy to be my rock and anchor during my times of need and despair, yet here he was going behind my back to give my hard-earned cash over to Laura so she could go mess around in Hawaii? Not on my watch. I was a doormat my entire life. I've been abused by my family, but I was fine putting up with it so long as Billy was in my corner. Now it was apparent I had nobody I could truly count on. Once I'd decided that a divorce was the only sensible option left at my disposal, I decided to call someone I'd hoped I'd never have to call. Walter Beaker, 50, M, is one of the most vicious and feared lawyers in my area. It was he who helped Billy and I arrange a prenuptial agreement years ago when we first got married. I knew that if there was anyone out there who could help me get out of this difficulty, it was him. I explained the situation to Walter, and he reassured me that this divorce would be an easy one since Billy had done something so terribly out of order. I immediately felt more relaxed about the situation. Walter suggested the best course of action would be to discuss the violation of the prenup agreement in person between all of us, so we could trick Billy before he had a chance to lawyer up and get a plan of action strategized. Since Laura was already sipping pina coladas in Hawaii and having the time of her life, I at least wanted Mom to be present so she could witness the destruction and heartache her interfering ways had wreaked upon my life. I called Mom and invited her over to dinner, and I then informed Billy that we would be having dinner at the house with Mom. They both thanked me for being a good sport about Laura's vacation. I just played dumb and acted like Elle agreed with them. I wanted it to be a surprise when the absolute freight train attack of Walter Beaker hit them at dinner tomorrow. I was so nervous I had difficulty sleeping. The next day I purposely made up an excuse for Mom and Billy to leave the house. I secretly asked them both to run to the store to pick up some cooking ingredients for the big meal was preparing. Since Mom and Billy were both in a good mood because I had paid for Laura's vacation, they happily agreed. That's when I informed Walter Beaker to come over to the house. Oh boy, you all should have seen the looks on Mom and Billy's foul faces when they entered the kitchen and saw Walter Beaker sitting at the kitchen table. Walter was calmly going over the prenuptial agreement. I could tell Billy immediately recognized the document, as he began to shake and squirm. He started tearing up and began crying like a little baby. Walter Beaker was wearing his trademark reading glasses, and we all knew he meant business. I'll spare you the legal details of the discussion that took place, but the conversation ended with Billy sobbing like a child. Mom was already drunk when she arrived at my apartment, and she tried to interject her thoughts and shift the blame like the foul and immature piece of poop she is. I told them both to get the heck out of my apartment. Although I put on a brave face during the meeting with Walter, I must admit I'm quite depressed over everything that's happened. I could use any advice and support you people are willing to give me. Update 1. Hello. Op here with an update for everyone. First, I'd like to thank everyone for the kind and supportive comments received. Some of you were sympathetic. Some of you criticized my behavior and said I allowed this to happen to myself. In some ways, you might be right, but I am learning how to stand up for myself now. Unfortunately, things just keep getting crazier for me. All day I've been getting calls from family members and friends in the community asking me how I could be so cruel to break Billy's heart like that. I set the record straight with every single one of these people and told them the truth, but it was like they didn't want to listen to me. Clearly Mom, Billy, and most likely Laura as well have been spreading rumors about me. I live in a small town and rumors spread like wildfire here. What's truly making my blood boil about all this is everyone in my family seems to have gotten the idea that Billy and I are divorcing because Lamb having an affair with Walter Beaker. This is ludicrous. I can't believe these people would all sink so low just to badmouth me and stain my reputation. I have nothing against Walter, but it would be quite unprofessional for a lawyer and client to have a relationship. I just hope this storm passes for me soon. Update 2. Hello, people. Op here with yet another update for you all. Thanks again for the support I've received so far. Allow me to cut right to the chase. So, some of you suggested should make a Facebook post about all this crap I've been dealing with, so I could clear the air with my family and the local community. First, let me explain that I am quite a private person, despite the impression I might be giving in this post. I've always had difficulty discussing my problems with others unless I was totally anonymous, and I've always been the type to just quietly deal with my problems on my own, and I have always been quite protective of my privacy in life. I had not even posted on Facebook in months before this event, but I deemed it necessary to explain my side of the story before my reputation was tarnished even more. There was nothing particularly outrageous about my post. I simply explained that Billy had betrayed the financial trust in our relationship by stealing from me, and I made sure everybody knew it was to fund Laura's trip to Hawaii. I admit, I threw Mom under the bus as well in this post. The post got a lot of support from my Facebook friends. However, I received a message from a local law firm telling me I was being sued for defamation of character by Billy and Mom. I could not believe this. I guess Billy knows he does not have a leg to stand on in this upcoming divorce hearing, so he and his crew of clowns are grasping at any straw they possibly can. I informed Walter Beaker about this nonsense, and he told me to relax, but right now I'm having a lot of trouble doing it. Wish me luck, people. Update 3. Hi, everyone. Op here. I received some more surprising and worrying news today. I don't know what to think about anything anymore. I don't know if Elle ever truly knew the real Billy. The Billy I thought I knew and thought I loved was perhaps a mere disguise all along. Today, I had a long and revelatory discussion with Laura's ex-husband, Scoop. I was shocked to receive a message from Scoop since I had not heard much of his comings or goings since his divorce from Laura. Scoop said we should meet in person to discuss some important things. I was quite interested by this. I invited Scoop over to my apartment. He looked dashing and handsome. I had forgotten just how good he looked. He immediately put me at ease and offered his sincere condolences regarding what was going on with my family and Billy. He told me he was willing to testify as a witness against Billy at my divorce hearing. I was initially confused and asked him why he felt like he should do this. As far as I was aware, Scoop hardly knew Billy well at all. Scoop told me that I needed to prepare myself because I was not going to like what I was about to hear. I nearly passed out when he dropped this bombshell on me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. He told me in no uncertain terms that the reason he was qualified to testify against Billy was because he knew Billy had been having an affair with my mom. He showed me screenshots he had stolen from Billy and Mom's phones months ago, as well as proof in writing from communication with Laura. I could not believe it. Billy was having an affair with Mom, and my sister knew and never even told me. Scoop apologized for not telling me sooner, But he told me he just wanted to get away from Laura as fast as he could and thought he would face consequences if he tried to expose the affair. But I think with Scoop and Walter Beaker on my side, I might have a chance at getting revenge on the foul clowns who have tried to ruin my life. I have a lot of details to share with you all. Wish me luck. Update 4. This is another update for you fine people. I am going to try to keep things brief because there is so much to go over. I had my divorce hearing today. This was the big day, the day I was finally going to get away from Billy forever. Here's how messed up my family is. When I showed up to court, Billy, Mom, and Laura were all on the same team. Meanwhile, I had my lawyer and Laura's ex-husband as my only support in the courtroom. I felt uneasy, but I pressed on. I knew we had the facts on our side that would rock the world of those foul pieces of crap on the other side of the courtroom. Billy's lawyer immediately began spewing a bunch of lies and nonsense trying to paint me out to be some sort of evil monster. It was a bunch of nonsense. Billy sat there with a smug look on his face like he knew he was getting away with something, and Mom and Laura sat in the stands behind him gloating and grinning inappropriately. I wanted to punch Billy's lawyer in the face, but I kept my cool. I knew Walter Beaker and Scoop would help me. Once Walter Beaker started his opening statement, I could see the judge's face begin to change already. When Scoop was called to the stand as a witness, a slideshow and projector was brought out for all in the courtroom to see. The proof of Billy's affair with Mom was broadcast for all to see. An eruption of chaos took place in the courtroom at that moment. Billy broke down and flew into a rage, foolishly admitting in the heat of the moment that he had in fact had an affair with Mom because I was not satisfying his needs. The best part? He also admitted that he had messed around with Laura, my own sister. This hurt me as well, but suddenly the three of them began fighting in the courtroom. It was a glorious thing to behold. Update 5. Hello, everyone. This is going to be my final update. I know it's been a while and I left you guys hanging, but I've been busy finalizing everything with the divorce and finally living the life I always wanted to live. You see, Billy, Laura, and Mom were all arrested and found in contempt of court after their outbursts during the divorce hearing. My divorce was granted without a single issue from the judge, as he could see Billy was clearly a serial cheater. As for that frivolous defamation suit Billy and Mom tried to send my way, it was dismissed without a second thought during a later court date. Walter accompanied me. Billy and Mom did not even bother to show up for court. As for what I'm doing nowadays, since a lot of you happen to ask, I have moved to another town and got a nice apartment with the true love of my life. That's right, Scoop, and I got engaged. He's all the things for me Billy could never be. Now that I've learned to stand up for myself, I have a partner who truly respects and appreciates me. Thank you all for reading.